The stone is warm beneath your back, not from sunlight, from blood. It never fully cools anymore. Even before you're laid down, you can smell it. Thick, metallic, old. It clings to your skin like a second body. You can't move. Not because of the ropes around your arms and legs, though. They hold tight. It's something else. Something heavier than binding. You've seen the altar before, from the ground, as a spectator. But this is different. Up here, the sky feels closer. The drums sound like they're inside your chest. The priest stands beside you. His face is hidden behind a painted mask, jade around the eyes, red streaks along the jaw. His arms are bare. His hands are steady. He holds nothing yet. But you see the bundle on the platform beside him. Cloth, folded, something wrapped inside. He doesn't look at you. That's not part of the ritual. You're not a person now. You're an offering, a door, a tool. He looks at the sky, then at the sun, then back at the stone. Behind him, others kneel, dancers, musicians, assistants. A girl holds a bowl filled with something thick and black. A boy rings a bell in slow rhythm, one note at a time. The sound rises with the smoke. You try to breathe, but the air is heavy, full of incense, sweat, crushed flowers, and ash. You feel it in your mouth, in your nose, under your tongue. Your stomach rolls, but you don't vomit. Not yet. Not in front of them. Your body shakes, but no one stops. That's expected. The shaking means the gods are near. Someone calls out a word in a voice that cracks. You don't understand it. You don't need to. It's not for you. It's for the gods above and the people below. The ones packed into the plaza, eyes fixed on your ribs, your neck, your open hands. You remember how you got here. Not clearly, not all at once, just in flashes. A hut with a cracked roof. Your mother crying in the next room. A soldier's hand on your shoulder. The journey. The cage. The songs at night from other captives who still had hope. Then silence, once they learned better. You don't know if you were chosen or taken. You don't know if someone offered your name in desperation, or if the priest saw something in your face that matched a dream. It doesn't matter now. You're here. A murmur rolls through the crowd. The priest unwraps the cloth. Inside is the blade. Obsidian. Polished to a sharpness that catches light like glass. Not large, not thick. Just long enough to reach through bone. Black as a night with no moon. It reflects nothing. Not even your own face. Your arms strain against the ropes, not in protest. Instinct. Your body wants to run. It hasn't learned that running isn't possible anymore. Your mind has, though. Your mind has stopped asking questions. There are no answers on this stone. He lifts the blade. He still hasn't looked at you. Your mouth opens. Not to speak, just to feel air. But it's not air that enters. It's dust. Smoke. The memory of every name that came before you. You're not the first on this stone, and you will not be the last. Somewhere, a baby cries. Somewhere, someone laughs. The drums stop. The silence is louder. The priest begins to chant. The words fall like stones into water. Slow, repeating. You don't know the language, but you know what it means. The gods are watching. You close your eyes, and the blade comes down. The gods didn't ask for blood. They demanded it. Without it, the sun would stop moving. The rains would die in the sky. Corn wouldn't grow. Babies wouldn't cry. Everything would fall apart. That's what they believed. The Mayan world was built on a cycle. Creation, destruction, balance. And balance came at a cost. Every act of birth had to be answered by an act of death. The gods gave life only if they received something back. And the most valuable thing a human could give was blood. Not just blood. Heart, breath, heat. The stuff that made a person a person. The priests knew this. So did the kings. So did the farmers who watched the sky for signs of rain, and the women who ground corn each morning with prayers under their breath. The gods were not kind. They were not gentle. They were powerful, dangerous, and easily offended. And they were always hungry. Stories told of how the gods first bled themselves to bring the world into being. They cut their own flesh, spilled their own divine essence so that humans could live. That sacrifice had to be repaid. Every ceremony, every offering, every chant whispered beneath the stars came from that debt. Some gods wanted tongues, others wanted hearts. One preferred blood drawn from the penis, offered in strips on bark paper and burned. Another wanted children, weeping and painted in blue. There was a god who lived in the sacred cenote. He liked to hear bodies hit the water and never surface. These were not metaphors. In Tikal, Copan, Chichen Itza, and dozens of other city-states, sacrifice was not horror. It was order. It kept the world turning, and the temples were engines. Massive stone steps rose into the clouds, not to bring people closer to heaven, but to lift the offering higher, to let the gods see clearly, to make sure no drop of blood was missed. The rituals were timed with the stars, with eclipses, with droughts, with victories in war. When the maize crop failed, the priest didn't blame the soil. They blamed imbalance. Somewhere a god had been shortchanged. Somewhere someone had withheld the sacred price, so someone would have to pay. War was not only about conquest, it was about capture. Killing the enemy was not enough. You needed bodies, prisoners. The battlefield was only the first step. The real offering came later. Captives were marched home in ropes, fed just enough to survive, cleaned and prepared, then placed on the altar to complete the cycle. Their death was the final blow in war. The real victory wasn't a field soaked in blood. It was a heart raised to the sky. But not every sacrifice was a prisoner. Some came willingly, not out of madness, out of belief. To be chosen as an offering was not always seen as punishment. It could be an honour, a release, a chance to rise beyond flesh and enter the gods' world. Young men fasted and prayed, hoping to be seen as worthy. Children were dedicated before they could walk. Families offered sons during hard seasons, believing that the death of one would save the lives of many. They weren't fools. They knew what the knife meant. They just believed it mattered. Because in their world the sky had a price, and that price was never gold. It was blood that made the clouds move, blood that kept the rivers full, blood that told the gods, "We remember what you gave. Now take this, and let the world go on." The priests were not murderers. They were mediators, surgeons for the sacred, trained from childhood to steady their hands, to hold their breath before the cut, to time the removal of the heart with the final beat. They wore red robes. Their fingers were stained. Their eyes saw things no one else could bear. But they believed they were saving the world, and the world kept turning, because the altars stayed red. They didn't drag you up the steps. You walked. That was part of it. Your feet had to touch every stone. Your sweat had to mix with the blood already there. Struggling ruined the ritual. Fear was expected, but you had to walk. Some cried, some begged, some walked proudly, some didn't seem to feel anything at all. But they all climbed. Long before you reached the platform, the ritual had already begun. It started the day you were chosen. Some were taken in war, bound and marched across jungles to cities where no one knew their name. Others were born into families who promised their child to the gods before they could speak. Others still were criminals, cursed men given one chance to cleanse their soul by giving their body. And then there were the volunteers, the ones who stood straight when the priest pointed at them, who didn't flinch when painted, who looked at the temple stairs not with dread but purpose. Not because they loved death, but because they feared a world that ended without them. Once chosen, you were set apart. You were given food, but not too much. Clean water, quiet. You were bathed every morning in flower water and ash. You were painted, first white, then red, then blue. You fasted. You prayed. You were taught to sit still, to hold your hands a certain way, to keep your eyes open even in smoke. The body had to be made sacred. So they washed it, trimmed your nails, oiled your skin. The heart had to be made strong. So they spoke words in your ear while you slept, recited myths about the first men who gave their hearts to light the sun, reminded you that this pain was not yours alone, that it kept your village fed, that it brought rain, that it fed gods who had once torn their own eyes out to see the world. Some broke before the climb. One boy refused to move on the day of the ceremony. He curled into himself and wept. The guards didn't strike him. They knelt. They waited. When he stopped shaking, they helped him stand. He walked. Some believed that if you died well, the gods took you to the sky, that you became a bird, a jaguar, a streak of red in the clouds, that mothers would whisper your name when planting seeds, that your heart would beat inside the next season's corn. So when the drum started, and the plaza filled, and the sun struck the stone just right, you stepped forward. The steps were steep. The weight of your body increased with each one, not just from gravity, but from the watching. Thousands of eyes followed you. Not all pitied you. Some envied you. Some hoped to be you one day. Every step was part of the offering. You were no longer yours. The priest waited at the top. He didn't greet you. He didn't explain what came next. He didn't have to. You had already been told. Beneath your feet the temple vibrated. The chants below swelled. The smoke rose thicker. The sky stretched open like a throat. And you knew. The gods were listening. The priest's hands are steady. That's the first thing you notice. They don't tremble. They don't hesitate. They move with the calm of someone who has done this before, because he has. He was trained for this, chosen young, taught how to hold the blade, how to cut between ribs, how to take a heart while it still moves. This isn't murder. It's skill. It's duty. He kneels beside you, says words you don't understand. His voice is quiet, not cold, not warm, just certain. He dips his fingers into a bowl of black powder and marks your chest, your forehead, your knees. Then he lifts the blade, obsidian, sharp enough to split bone, polished until it catches light but not reflection. He doesn't raise it high. There's no drama, no pause for effect. The audience has already seen this before. This isn't a performance for them. It's for the gods. Your chest is bare, your arms held down, your head tilted just slightly so your eyes point toward the sun. You feel the heat before the cut. You feel the weight of the world pressing down, not from above, but from inside your own ribs. Then he begins. The first cut isn't deep, it's precise, just enough to mark the path. His assistant wipes the blood with cloth. The second cut is faster. The third breaks the skin completely. You don't scream. Not because you're brave. Not because it doesn't hurt. Because the drum drowns everything. The blade moves again, a fourth time, a fifth. Then his hands change rhythm. He presses, separates, reaches in. You feel the cold before the pain. And then, nothing. The body stays. But something leaves. Not all at once. Slowly, like water leaking from a cracked pot. You're still on the stone, but you're not. You hear your heart before you see it. A wet sound. Rhythmic. Then a pause. Then the priest lifts it. Blood spills from the base. The muscle still pulses once, maybe twice. He races it to the sky. The crowd doesn't cheer. That's not the custom. They breathe together. A long inhale. A held silence. Then a horn sounds from below. That means the gods have seen it. He places the heart in a bowl lined with leaves. It will be burned later, or buried beneath a temple, or given to a statue's mouth. It depends on the god. You don't know which one this was for. But it doesn't matter. You've done your part. Not every sacrifice ended this way. Some were decapitated. The priest used a different tool for that. Thicker, wider. The cut had to be clean. The head was placed on a rack beside the temple steps. A tzompantli, a wall of skulls. Others were thrown into cenotes, deep natural wells, sacred to the gods. They painted you blue first, tied your hands, then dropped you in. If you sank quickly, it was a good sign. If you floated, it meant the offering wasn't accepted. Some were burned alive, but only on certain days, only when the gods of fire needed reminding. But the heart was the most common, the most sacred, because the heart was alive. It moved. It spoke in blood. It was the only part of the body that beat for the gods without needing words. And when it stopped, the sun stayed on course. The rains returned. The crops grew. For a while, until the world hungered again. And another body was placed on the stone. Another chest was opened. Another priest's hands reached in and lifted a heart, like yours, still warm. Your heart is gone, but the body stays. It doesn't vanish. It doesn't get buried right away. It's still useful. It still has meaning. In this world, death isn't the end. It's a doorway, and the body is part of what passes through. The priests don't throw you aside. They lift you gently. 4 men practiced in the motion carry you down the steps. Your arms hang loose, your feet drag. Blood trails behind you. The crowd watches. They don't cheer. They don't speak. Some look away. Others stare too long. A child asks a question. The mother answers without looking. You're brought to the back of the temple. There your body is cleaned. The blood is wiped, not out of respect, but ritual. The gods have taken what they need. Now the people must do the same. Some parts are burned, some buried, others kept. Your skull might be stripped, polished, and placed on the tzompantli, a rack of skulls set into stone, row after row, stretching across the temple wall, a silent record of the ones who fed the world, a reminder of balance. The jawbone might be carved into a flute, the femur drilled into a whistle. These aren't trophies, they're instruments for the next ceremony. When the gods are called again, your bones will sing. Sometimes the flesh is eaten, not by everyone, not by commoners, only by priests, nobles, the chosen. They don't eat to enjoy, they eat to take in the sacred. They believe the body, touched by gods, carries something holy. To consume it is to take part in the divine, to hold it inside, just for a moment. Your body becomes many things, an offering, a sign, a tool. It becomes part of the palace. Your blood staining the floor beneath the altar, your ribs buried beneath a wall, your image carved into a panel, arms spread, heart lifted, eyes open. Your name, if it was given, becomes sacred. It's spoken during harvest, sung during the dry months, whispered by old women planting maize, hoping the rain comes soon. You aren't forgotten. Not yet. But you're not remembered the way you were. You're not a son or a brother or a prisoner. You're a shape, a sound, a necessary act. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what the gods need. The plaza empties slowly. The drums stop. The priests wipe the blade clean with water from leaves and flowers. The musicians unstring their instruments. The dancers return to their chambers. No one speaks loudly. Even the children, usually loud with play, go quiet. The altar is scrubbed, not because they are ashamed of what happened, because something sacred happened there. You're gone now. Your blood has soaked into the stone. Your name, if you had one, hangs in the air for a bit longer. It will be spoken by the priest tonight, low, as they kneel before the fire. Then it will be left behind. The sky hasn't changed. But something feels different. The clouds move. The wind shifts. The people walk away believing the gods are satisfied, at least for now. The balance is restored. Someone lights incense in a nearby doorway. Someone hangs flowers from a shrine. Someone laughs softly, careful not to sound too joyful too soon. The market opens again. The stalls creak. The smell of roasted maize drifts through the square. Life resumes. It always does. But your face stays carved into the temple wall. Not detailed. Just enough to remember the moment. Arms held wide, chest open, head tilted back. You aren't a person now. You're a symbol. You're a mark left behind to say, someone gave everything. The priest returns to his chamber. He strips off his robe, washes his hands with lime and salt. His fingers ache, but not from work, from memory. He's done this before. He'll do it again. But some faces stay longer than others. Some eyes don't leave. Yours might be one of them. He lies down, staring at the ceiling painted with stars. Real stars, mapped carefully. Each as a god, each mouth to feed. He closes his eyes and sees the moment the heart stopped beating. That's what stays, not the noise, the silence that follows. In that silence, everything hangs. The world, waiting to turn. The crops, waiting to rise. The people were waiting to live another day without punishment. It is quiet now, but not peaceful. The gods are fed, but only for a while. You are gone, but your blood has marked the stone, and the stone remembers.